worldwide at thezone1059.com.
All right. Hey, welcome in. Live radio on a Friday. You have made it to Friday. Round of applause for you. Right off the top, let's check in with Beav. Let's see how good old pal old Beaver is doing. Hey, Beav.
Well, hey, Matt Wyatt.
Is that the earliest we've ever talked after the start of a radio
Yeah,
show?
that was mighty quick.
I just think that we've all kind of reached a point here. Me, you, our audience kind of as a whole, we've all reached a point where we can just skip the formalities, you know? We can just skip it. How was your Thursday?
Thursday was just fine.
Yeah. Did you have a lot of NFL draft preview stuff with Jake yesterday afternoon?
Man, oh man, Matt Wyatt.
A lot of it?
Yes, way too much.
Too much, huh?
I've told you before how, like, when we reach this time, when we reach draft week, I look forward to watching it, but I also equally look forward to it just being the day so we can stop getting mock draft after mock draft after mock draft after mock draft and reports. Oh, well, this is rumored, this is rumored, this is rumored.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, right. So
we can see things actually happen.
Yeah.
I can stop seeing all these alleged reports.
Get rid of the previews and start to do a little review and see what's actually going to happen. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I figured that was the case. And I was working out of town yesterday when I kind of got back into town and got home last night, get settled in, and we were having supper. And then afterwards, we turned the TV on, and Annabeth was like flipping through trying to find something to watch. And then it hit me. The light bulb went on. I was like, hey, tonight's the draft. And it was like the first time all day it dawned on me. And then we watched a little bit of it, but we turned it on initially, turned the draft on ESPN, and we stuck with it for about 5 seconds. And then I asked if she would switch it over to the NFL Network, because I usually prefer that. I usually prefer Charles Davis, Daniel Jeremiah, those guys on the NFL Network coverage. And so we flipped it over there, but it was okay. I mean, the first few picks were interesting, and then it kind of lost my interest. That was the thing to me is after about the first 4 or 5 picks, Beav, I was like, all right, on to something else. I'll just look at the list tomorrow. Why do I want to see it? I think I've kind of reached that point in my life. And man, hats off to the people in Detroit. Well over 100,000 people showing up to attend a draft. I can't quite wrap my head around that. Why? Real quick, here let me just kind of reset. Here we are on a Friday in the bureau. I'm in the normal Farm Bureau Insurance studio. Farm Bureau Insurance. Go with the home team. They are your home team at Farm Bureau Insurance all across the great state of Mississippi. Your hometown heroes, that's your local Farm Bureau Insurance agents in all 82 counties. And so, Beav, if you could, you're a concert goer. In terms of the concert events that you've been to in the past, what was the biggest one in terms of attendance, if you had to guess?
Oh, attendance.
Yeah. I mean, have you been to a concert that had, I don't know, 40,000 or 20,000 or 15? I'm not a concert goer, so I don't really know, especially in big venues.
I guess what comes to mind first is back in 2010.
Yeah.
A Bon Jovi concert.
Okay.
In Nashville.
Okay.
At Bridgestone.
Uh-huh. All right.
But I guess it depends on where.
Yeah,
because
it does.
back at the previous station, when the first year of the crawfish boil happened, it was out at the fairgrounds, so you got a much more open area. So that was a pretty big crowd.
Okay.
I guess, I don't know. I guess the Bridgestone Arena, though, just because it's a big, big arena.
Okay, so I'm looking here. Bridgestone Arena, it says in Nashville for concerts, seats up to 19,891. Okay, so according to that, basically, if you have a concert at Bridgestone and fill it up, which I would think something like back in 2010, Bon Jovi probably filled it up, right, B? I would think that it did.
The way I remember, it was close to, if not sold out.
Okay, so let's just call it
exactly, but it was full, pretty full.
Pretty full. So let's just say 20,000 people in a big arena in Nashville, which is a large concert. Well, this deal last night, this draft, even though it was outdoors and they kind of had the big awning thing and the whole stage area, they said that they had over 100,000 people there. And I honestly wasn't. I get it. The NFL is such a big deal, and it is a neat thing, especially like if you live in a place like Detroit and once in a blue moon, your town's going to host it. It's neat. You want to venture out there, and a heavily populated deal, and that's why they choose those areas. But I found myself thinking, like, what do you get out of being there? Like, what is it? Nobody's throwing a ball. There are no points that are scored. It's not like there's a photo op for you with whoever gets. Like, if you're one of the, why would you show up to that? What do you get out of it? I just don't know. I don't understand that. It's like if you attend a 20,000 person concert at Bridgestone Arena in Nashville, well, you kind of know what you get out of it. You're one of 20,000. There's not a bad seat in the house. No matter where you are, you're relatively close to Bon Jovi, and they sing for you. I mean, if you go to the draft, what do you get out of it? You get to boo Roger Goodell? I mean, more power to him. I'm not at all saying. I'm just saying, for me personally, I wouldn't go because I'm not sure. I could come up with a whole list of other things I could do. And I guess that makes me sound like the old curmudgeon. I'm just looking at it that way. But anyway, it's fine. This is a draft. I guess what I was getting at, Beaver, if would you go with 100,000 attend an NFL draft with 100,000 people, and what would be your motivation to go if the answer is yes?
Yeah. Now, it's not something that I would travel a great distance to.
Okay.
I guess if it were close, but I guess the closest would be if it were New Orleans.
Okay, yeah.
Well, I don't know that I'd travel to New Orleans for it. But
yeah.
It kind of goes with something the other day that Jake was talking about. We were talking about football games and brand new stadiums. And now it's not so much about you go to a football game. I want to go to a football game to watch a football game.
Right.
But you're talking about the new stadiums, and they're all state of the art, of course. So you got to have the in-game experience is what these, owners and people put in. You got to have the new technology and whatnot. So I was talking about that. Well, there's a difference because I don't care about if I'm going to a football game. I don't consider it an experience. I want to go to watch a game.
Yeah.
And what I used was, if you want an experience is like a Taylor Swift concert. Go to a Taylor Swift concert if you want an experience. So now that you bring this up, I think going to a draft like that's more of an experience.
Yeah.
I think it'd be neat to see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely great people watching.
Yeah.
A lot of weirdos. You're seeing, future NFL talent. I get why you would go. It's an experience. I think it would be neat.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I can get it. See,
but 100,000 people,
that's a lot of people, man.
It's a lot of folks.
I mean, it crammed into a really small area. It is. See, and if I go back to one of the things that you mentioned, New Orleans. Okay. So again, I'll throw a hypothetical out there and we can compare it. So you were like, I'm not sure I would drive all the way to New Orleans for that. Like if you were living in New Orleans and they're hosting the draft and there's going to be 90,000 people in some location, you'd walk down the street, right? But in terms of getting in the car, drive 3 hours to go stand in amongst 100,000 people, and you're not even really watching anything happen. Okay, so I guess what I would say is, for example, let's say Better Than Ezra was having a concert at the Superdome. Well, you'd get in your car and happily drive down there for that. You wouldn't even hesitate to drive to New Orleans for that, would you?
I don't think so.
Right. Because when you got there, whether 10,000 or 25,000 attended that in the Superdome, you'd know you're going to get an experience and get to see a heck of an event. And it's live and all that kind of stuff. Anything can happen, right? So it's different than, and I guess you don't know the picks, but I can watch a draft at home. See, they don't put concerts on TV. Unless it's Elvis, anyway, so I don't know. That was a little confusing to me. I look at it and go, wow, there's something that doesn't connect. It's cool for me to turn on the TV and see they got all these people there in one place, but I'm going like, why would you go to that? What do you get out of it? It just shows you, I guess, your thinking on that stuff changes probably as you get older. For example, PT for MSU goes, okay, Matt, we'll get off your lawn. Then he says, I'm only kidding. I don't get it either. That's what I'm doing. I like the draft. I get, you're putting, it's the first round. It's big time. Maybe one of these guys is going to lead you to a Super Bowl. It's really exciting for the fans of the teams. I mean, but really, I'm going to go out, just stand there. And every now and then I'm going to go, woo! Right? That's the night. There's your night right there. I'm going to stand in one place with 100,000 other people, elbow to elbow. We can't really move. We just hope a fire doesn't break out. Every now and then I'm going to go, woo! And other than that, I'm going to stand there and watch nothing happen most of the time. Every so often, the commissioner walks out. I get to do what? I'm still standing in one place. I get to go, boo! So we boo the commissioner. And then he says, with the second pick in this year's NFL draft, the Commanders select, Jayden Daniels, quarterback LSU. And you go, neat. How about that? That's it. For what do you do? I said 3 hours of that? We were talking about the size of concerts. Bodine Dog texted the show. He said, Matt, in the 1980s, I saw the Rolling Stones with George Thorogood opening the concert for them. How about that? Bad to the Bone and then the Rolling Stones. He says around 90,000 people in the Superdome. It was crazy. All those people in the dome, the Stones were great. That's from Bodine Dog. See, that's what I'm saying. Like concerts, events, sporting events, there's something different about that to me than the draft. It's just, I don't know. Over the last several years, I've started to see all kinds of stuff differently, and I feel like I'm seeing it clearer than I ever have. And one is why. Dog Tired in Florence texts the show, and he says, I'll bet Beaver was at the downtown Jackson, Mississippi Street concert in the early 2000s. The Three Dog Night concert. He says he and I were probably singing Joy to the World. Estimated 19,000 in attendance. Dog Tired says, I know I was there because a lady with an 8-inch Virginia Slim stuck those hot ashes into my arm. Really? She burns you with her cigarette, huh? Beaver, do you know what he's talking about?
No.
Okay.
I've never seen Three Doors Down. I was going to say Three Doors Down.
Yeah, same
Three
thing.
Dog Night. If he's talking about outside downtown Jackson, maybe that was Jubilee Jam.
Yeah.
So if it was a Jubilee Jam, we were most likely there together, Dog Tired, but I was not seeing Three Dog Night.
Well, would you have been working it, or were you still in school then? I'm talking about like...
He said early 2000s.
Yeah, early 2000s.
So. Oh, I never worked a
Jubilee
Jam. That was before my time in radio.
Before your time. Gotcha. Principal texted the show and he says, "Hey, Matt, I didn't get drafted. Did you?" No. Nope, not then, not now. Yeah, not then, not now.
I take that back.
Were you there?
We did work a Jubilee Jam.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Because I think, if I remember right, it kind of dried up for a couple years.
Uh-huh.
And then it came back like 2007.
Yeah.
So the 2008 one I remember being at Shinedown.
Okay. Beav, I think I've told you this before, okay, and I have not really been able to be much of a concert goer in my life. And so it's easy for me to have one that stands out. But the one concert experience for me that stands out is, this would have been early 2000s at the Tupelo Arena, and there were 4 bands that came through there on a tour. They were all like 80s rock bands, okay? And this
Poison?
Yes, I told you about it.
Poison, Cinderella.
Yeah.
I just remember back in summer of 2002, I remember wanting to go see Poison in Tupelo.
Yes, well, that was it. Because it was 4. Here they were. Let's see if I can get this right. Hold on. Winger opened. Hang on now. Then after them came onto the stage Faster Pussycat. Remember that band? And then after that was Cinderella. And then after that was Poison, which was the headliner. Okay, and I got dragged to that thing kicking and screaming. I thought I was not going to like it. I didn't listen to that kind of music coming up. I don't know anything, like whatever. Well, the first 2, whatever. But I'm just going to say this, Beav, and this is why it stood out to me. So Cinderella came out there. It was really loud and really good. And whoever the lead guy was for Cinderella, he wore a big top hat, a big black top hat as a part of his, outfit. What do you call it? And this guy, not only could he sing and rattle the windows, man, I'm talking about blow the roof off singing. He could play any instrument they could bring up there. And he did at some point during the deal. And it was really good. And so, frankly, when they got done, and then the headliner Poison came out there, like it was a little bit of a letdown. They were not as good as Cinderella. That's my concert experience that stands out. One of those where, like, you don't want to go, you don't think you're going to like it, and you wind up enjoying it. Yeah. Anywho. Oh, look at this one. Okay, Sven, he is listening. He's on the live stream over in Germany, and he said on YouTube here, Led Zeppelin, 1975 in Prague, 80,000 people there. It says was the biggest concert he ever attended. So see, all right, so if you were at a concert with 80,000 or 90,000, you see what I'm saying? What I'm saying is that's a concert. We've been to games. We've been to a football game that had 100,000 at Texas A&M or Alabama or something. It's okay. You got a game going on. There's something you're seeing happen in front of you. The whole deal of like, I'm going to hang out for 3 hours with over 100,000 people for the draft. I don't get it. But hey, more power to them. Maybe there's just not much else to do this time of year in other parts of the country. My mother-in-law is listening, and she texts me on my iPhone 12 from C-Spire. She says, we went to Midnight Yell at Texas A&M with thousands of people, and says, I didn't get chill bumps not one time. You mean you weren't moved, Debbie, by the whole experience of Midnight Yell at Texas A&M? All those those quote unquote cheerleaders down there in painters' outfits doing weird choreographed movements. You mean they didn't just get to you right in your soul? I bet. I don't get it either. I'll never forget the first time I went to an A&M game, and out came those guys, cheerleaders dressed in the painters' outfits. And it was one of our people, I don't even remember who it was, says, "Who let the paint crew on the field?" That's what it looks like. What are y'all doing? That's what A&M, the people in Aggie land, they are some of the nicest people on planet Earth. They really are. You go to a Texas A&M game, even as a visiting fan, everybody you see there that's working for A&M or at the stadium or whatever, they smile at you and they say howdy. They are nice people. Okay, and boy, they sing and they fill that stadium. It's great. Back in the old stadium days, they even had the deal pregame where they would have the horse-drawn carriages come do the whole procession around. It was really neat. But this cheerleader deal and cadet deal, and then the choreograph, we're going to do the same arm move. At least make them cool. If you're going to do some sort of dance like it's not even a dance. I don't know what it is. At least, but what is that? What are y'all doing? Y'all need to get rid of that. There are some traditions you just need to kill. I think y'all need to stop that, A&M. Nobody likes it. Some of y'all pretend like you like it. I don't believe you do. Stick around. Hour 1 underway.
Today's game from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Time was, their breakfasts were gloomy. They just didn't feel right, and they didn't know a delicious cereal could help their sad plight. So they tried this and tried that, but irregularity kept coming back all the same. For as often the case, lack of bulk in their diet was actually to blame. Once at the grocer's, the wife was so drooping and sagging that a neighbor said, "Get on Kellogg's All-Bran wagon. Why, All-Bran has a flavor that's scrumptious to eat. So rich and nut-like, makes breakfast a treat. And of course, Kellogg's All-Bran can help you each day to youthful regularity, the dietary way." "Well, it might do some good," said the wife with a sigh. "Guess I'll get some All-Bran and give it a try." Soon, breakfasts at her house were happy and bright, for delicious Kellogg's All-Bran set their day off right. Yes, All-Bran supplies all the bulk in your diet, you see, that you may need for youthful regularity. And no half-brand cereal possibly can provide this help as surely as Kellogg's All-Bran. A delicious, non-habit-forming aid to your diet. You're sure to like All-Bran. Just buy it and try it.
Get on the Kellogg's All-Bran wagon with the best bran in the land. The cereal that tastes grand, the cereal that's All-Bran, a breakfast treat that can't be beat. Be a regular guy and climb aboard the All-Bran wagon. Eat Kellogg's All-Bran.
What is the secret of this enchanted book? What wonders are hidden within its pages? What magical spell does it cast on all who read it? What is the secret of the never-ending story?
But that's impossible!
You will enter a world where a young boy's imagination becomes a vivid reality. The world of Atreyu and Artax, the Rockbiter, and a good and kind gnome. A world that is vast and eternal, treacherous and dazzling, unforgettable and free. For anyone who's ever made a wish, believed in a fantasy, or had a dream, this is the never-ending story.
It's a new thing, it's a fun thing, it's a swing wing.
It's a what?
It's a swing wing, it's a wing wing. A brand new classic grand fun thing.
It's a what?
It's a swing wing. A fun thing. And now it's your favorite store thing.
It's a what?
Mazda announces some great news for truck buyers. Right now, you can beat the already outstanding value of the $67.95 Mazda SE5. Introducing Mazda SE5 Plus 5. $625 worth of extra features at no extra charge from...
All right, back with you. Well, Denzel, I didn't mean to bury the lead there. I just got off on another subject, but I got your text on the Country Pleasing text line. Country Pleasing sausage on grocery store shelves all around the Southeast. It is the best, hands down, in my opinion, that you're going to find anywhere. If you're not sure where to start, you can't go wrong with the original smoked sausage flavor, or try some of that jalapeno and cheddar. Make your tongue slap your head off. Black pepper and cheddar, 3 cheese. I could go on and on. Anyway, the number to text the show, 885-3776. That's a 601 number, 885-3776. Another good way to remember that is 885-ESPN. Denzel texted me there, the Country Pleasing text line. He said, look at what my buddies caught on the Pearl River in Philadelphia yesterday. And it is about a 5-foot-long flathead catfish. And my man there in the picture, Denzel, is doing all he can to lift that. He's having to use, it's so huge. This flathead catfish is so humongous. He's having to use both hands, obviously. He can't, there's no way to pick it up with one hand. Not like that. But he's using both hands to pick it up, holding the fish right up under his chin, and the fish's tip of the tail is about to drag the ground. So it's about a 5-foot-long deal. And I'm going to guess, what can we guess there on that? 90 pounds? What's the state record? Okay, I'll look it up. You don't have to ask me to look it up. Mississippi state record fish. And let's see, here we go. State fishing records over at mdwfp.com. And so that would be your Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. All right. We are looking for a flathead catfish. Here it is. All right, look here now. The state record flathead catfish, it says here 89 pounds and 8 ounces. Now, and I don't see a stipulation on rod and reel like in 2 different categories. I just, when I first look it up and start scrolling through, first thing I see is just, there it is, flathead catfish. Yeah, so it is. All right, hold on, let me go back. Hold your horses. We're going to figure this out. So a rod and reel flathead catfish, state record rod and reel flathead catfish, 77.7 pounds. Mississippi River caught back in 2012. The one that was from 2018 in the Yazoo River, Carthage, Mark Wilkerson of Carthage, 89 pounds, 8 ounces. So you're catching that some other way. It just says trophy, so it's caught some other way other than rod and reel. Okay, but I will say this, and I'm guessing, just looking at the picture, doing the best I can, but I would think, Denzel, that if they caught that on a rod and reel, they're going to be real close to a state record on that flathead catfish. Text them back and ask them what it weighed. I'm sure they know. I really want to know. Thanks for the picture. Where'd he catch it? What'd he catch it on? They may not tell us that. All right, headlines. Let's go.
Good evening. I'm Ron Burgundy, and this is what's happening in your world.
Good evening, and welcome to Eyewitness News.
Here's what's making news.
Headlines brought to you by Bank of England Mortgage and 𝐌𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐢. Y'all see 𝐌𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐢 out today? Tell him what a great soccer player he is. Or tell him what a great soccer player he used to be. My man 𝐌𝐢𝐬𝐬, the mortgage man. Find him online at mortgagemanms.com. That's mortgagemanms.com. Well, the surprise pick of the first round of the NFL draft was Michael Penix Jr., the quarterback from Washington. The Falcons took him. And there are reports that it, quote unquote, stunned the camp of incumbent quarterback Kirk Cousins, who they just paid a hefty price to get from the Vikings. The Falcons went ahead and made that first round pick of a quarterback, despite the fact they signed Kirk Cousins to a 4-year, $180 million contract last month in free agency. More on what Kirk Cousins and company are saying about that here today as we go forward in the show. Baseball last night, Alabama was able to run rule Ole Miss, 12-zip the final. Alabama had 12 runs on 16 hits in that ball game. Ole Miss, no runs on just 6 hits. They had an error in the ball game as well. How about a 9-run fourth inning for Alabama? They were up 10-0 after the fourth inning. So a win for them. Tennessee won, I believe it was, who was it they beat last night? Missouri? Isn't that who the series are in the league? Yeah, I think Tennessee beat Missouri 10-1. So not a run rule, but close to it. And the rest of the series around the SEC are going to all start tonight, including Mississippi State at Vanderbilt. Game 1 is a 6 Central first pitch at Vandy in Nashville. Arkansas hosts Florida this weekend. That starts tonight. A&M hosting Georgia this weekend. South Carolina hosts Kentucky. Kentucky's trying to bounce back. Their first series loss of the year was last weekend at the hands of Tennessee. And LSU is going to host Auburn this weekend. And all of those will get started. Those series will get started tonight. Now, speaking of Mississippi State, a final headline here. State baseball announced the rotation for the weekend. A little bit of a change. Probably has something to do with matching up against Vanderbilt's pitching issues, because they have some guys out. They got one hurt, another one suspended. So State is going to throw tonight. Cal Steven, their ace, their Friday night guy, has been ever since the injury to Nate Dome. But instead of throwing ambidextrous pitcher Jurrangelo St-Juste in Game 2, they're going to push him back and make sure he throws Game 3 on Sunday. So for State, it is Steven tonight, TBA tomorrow, Saturday, Game 2, and then St-Juste Game 3, first pitch, 1 o'clock for St-Juste and the Bulldogs on Sunday, weather permitting. So, and I don't think you're supposed to have any weather issues, major issues, this weekend. All right, those are your headlines brought to you by Bank of England Mortgage and 𝐌𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬 All right, back over to the text line. Olivier, good to hear from you. Olivier texts the show and he says, I'll pay the I saw this band game with almost anyone. Listen to this. Olivier, he's not a name dropper, but we opened the subject up, so he's just chiming in. He has seen the Rolling Stones 5 times. He saw U2 back in 1992 in a tiny venue. Say that 5 times fast. He says, you name the band, I've probably seen them. It's all we did in the 80s in New Orleans. Go Saints, he says. Draft the guys who block and the guys who tackle. It's important to have those guys if you want to win games. Yes, the guys who block and the guys who tackle. What did everybody do last night? So Caleb Williams goes 1 to the Bears. Daniels out of LSU to Washington with the second pick. The Patriots took Drake May, number 3. What do you think about that? Who did the Saints take and where? So with the 14th pick, they took the offensive tackle out of Oregon State. Let me try it. Talisi Fuega. Did I say it right? Talisi Fuega. How's that? Best I can do. Offensive tackle out of Oregon State. So, yeah. Well, as you wish. They went blocker. And so now maybe next round 2 and beyond, maybe they go tackler. And we'll see what the Saints do. What did Cowboys do? Cowboys took the tackle out of Oklahoma. Chiefs took the receiver out of Texas who ran the 4.2 twice. Fast guy. Yeah, that's just what they needed, right? With another weapon. Well, it really is. I mean, you think about it. Think about this too. Okay, if you're that receiver for the Chiefs who just got himself in trouble for speeding over 100 miles an hour, causing a wreck in Dallas on the highway, and then fleeing the scene and having to go turn yourself in later. The first thing your team does is go and draft your likely replacement. That's the way that works. All right, over to the live stream. Sven in Germany says, Drake May has a lot of work to do if he wants to start an NFL game. He has a lot of potential. He says, but he is nowhere near ready to run any kind of NFL offense. Well, Sven, the thing, I was curious about that too. But they like him, and Daniel Jeremiah really likes him. He bragged on him big time. Really likes him as a prospect. Thought it was a fit. We'll see. We'll all find out soon enough. Nobody knows. It's all a toss-up. They're all 50-50. Even the first one. That's what it is. It's a team game. They'll win or lose largely based on who's around them a lot. Unless you're transcendent once in a lifetime like a Pat Mahomes, and there ain't one of those in every draft. I promise you that much. All right. Stick around.
Have you ever wished for one product that would clean and shine almost everything in your house? Here it is, Clean and Shine. Like magic, Clean and Shine leaves a nice shine on fine wood furniture, so you don't need furniture polish. It cleans and shines mirrors, so you don't need glass cleaner for mirrors. It cleans and shines refrigerators, like this kitchen product, even countertops, tile, and vinyl. Try new Clean and Shine, the foam that cleans and shines almost everything in your house.
Someday when people look at me, they'll say, there goes Roy Hobbs, the best there ever was.
TriStar Pictures presents Robert Redford in The Natural, the story of a father and a son.
You got a gift, Roy, but it's not enough.
Of love.
He means the world to me.
And desire.
I'm not waiting for true love to come along, Roy.
A champion.
Roy Hobbs comes along once, maybe twice in everybody's lifetime.
And his destiny.
With or without the records, they'll remember you.
Best there is now, and best there ever will be.
I wouldn't bet against me.
I already have.
Robert Redford, Robert Duvall, Glenn Close, Kim Basinger, Wilford Brimley, Barbara Hershey, Robert Prosky, and Richard Farnsworth as Red. The Natural.
Do you know me? Would you believe I'm Bugs Bunny? I'm also the voice of many other cartoon characters. But in here, they don't care if I'm Elmer Fudd. So I carry an American Express card, the one card I need for travel and entertaining, for business and pleasure. Why, without this, the only way I'd get any attention is by saying, that's all, folks.
To apply for a card, call 800-528-8000.
The American Express card. Don't leave home without it.
The following is a presentation of TBS Sports. Exclusively on Superstation TBS. Superstation TBS presents the Atlanta Braves, America's team. Atlanta Braves baseball is brought to you by Budweiser. Beechwood Age for that distinctively clean, crisp taste that makes Budweiser the king of beers. This Bud's for you. By the official airline of the Atlanta Braves, Delta. We love to fly, and it shows. And by Eckerd Drugs, America's family drugstore.
If a man you've never met before suddenly gives you flowers, that's elation. The exciting new fragrance from Impulse.
Thursday, it's Cosby starting off a night of family fun. And leave it to Family Ties to keep the laughs coming.
Oh, no. What are we going to do? Everything's under control.
Then on Cheers, will Norm think on a friend to get a promotion?
Yes, yes.
And the fun continues with Night Court.
I'm here to strip for Dan Fielding.
Thursday.
Oh, what a meal, oh.
Hamburger helper lasagna.
For your family.
Authentic Italian taste.
Hearty robusto. But not too spicy, eh?
Hamburger helper lasagna turns your plain hamburger into a delicious Italian meal with authentic Italian taste.
Why? At the Zone 105.9.com.
Back with you. I'm Matt in the Bureau. The Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Farm Bureau Insurance, go! With the home team. So I'm still kind of waiting to hear back from White Denzel if he could get up with those people that he sent me a picture of, and they're his friends, that caught a massive flathead catfish on the Pearl River in Philadelphia yesterday. Got a photo to prove it. And maybe I'm not judging it right. Maybe it's not quite that big. It could be in that 60-pound range. You know, just because you don't know always from a picture. But it's, let's just say if the guy holding the fish is 6 feet tall, then the fish is pushing 5 feet long. Now, he may not be 6 feet. He may be 5'8" for all I know. Let's say he's 5'10". Well, still nearly a 5 foot long flathead catfish. I'm just trying to think of what it would have to weigh. And so we looked up the state records. It's interesting because earlier this week somebody asked a question. We were having fun tossing around the idea of state record fish, and it said, okay, you have a choice. You can either catch a state record largemouth or you can play Augusta one time. Which one are you going to choose? That was our question earlier in the week. This one, I don't know. So as I looked up those state record fish, I guess I just had not really thought of it. I knew that there's a difference for, there's a different record for catching things on a rod and reel versus like if you catch on a trot line or jugging or something like that, or catch one in some other way. But did you know that there are all kinds of fly fishing state records in the state of Mississippi too? If you've never looked it up, you might not know that. Tell you what got my attention. All right, listen. So the state record largemouth bass is 18.5 pounds and was caught in Natchez back in 1992. 18.5 pounds, by Anthony Denny, Natchez State Park Lake, 1992. That's he caught on rod and reels, 18.5 pounds. But the state record largemouth on a fly rod is 11 pounds and 6 ounces, or well, whatever, 11.62 pounds. So, and that was a private pond back in 2005 in Leland. All right. So over in the Delta, private pond, 11 pounds, caught on a fly rod, state record fly rod large. So they're all different records. So again, to compare, this is what caught my attention here. So the state record smallmouth bass caught at Pickwick, obviously, 7 pounds, 15 ounces, Yellow Creek up at Pickwick, caught by Thomas Wilbanks from Walnut, Mississippi in 1987. That's rod and reel, smallmouth state record, 7 pounds, 15 ounces. But did you know that the state record smallmouth bass caught on a fly rod is 2.25 pounds? It ain't even 2.5 pounds. Now, you may not care about a state record. I think it would be cool if you caught a state record fish. Here's what I know. There's a whole bunch of smallmouth bigger than 2.25 pounds swimming around at Pickwick. Boat docks, boat houses, piers, up there on a, gravel bank, certain time of year. And I would think all you got to do is just stay at it with a fly rod, and you can catch the state record smallmouth bass. You'd have a great chance to do it. Now, the guy who did it, the guy who caught the state record smallmouth at Pickwick on a fly rod, did it in 2010 at Pickwick, named Scott Dean. 2010. But it's got me thinking, you know what? I'm going to start making trips to Pickwick with a fly rod, and I'm bound to catch the state record smallmouth on a fly rod. Let's just see if we can make it happen. All right. Back to the phone line, the Divinity Equipment phone line. Divinity Equipment in Madison and in Jackson. Your Kubota dealer, the oldest Kubota dealer in the U.S., in fact, means they've been doing it better, longer than anyone else right here at home at Divinity. On line one, it's Rooster. What's up, Rooster? Happy Friday.
TGIF, guys. Yeah, I want to get a dog's doors update, but are we allowed to reminisce?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. That's what we do most of the time.
Well, 50 years ago, I heard you say 75 and talking about the draft. 50 years ago, and my internet ain't working. I don't know if we got any Mississippians drafted. But 50 years ago, we had 3 in the first round from Jackson, Mississippi. I won't say they're from Jackson. I think one is from Florence, one is from Mobile, and one is from Columbia. But they were all 3 in Jackson. I interviewed them. 3 first-round draft horses in Jackson, Mississippi. And I think all 3 were top 10.
Is
Can you believe that?
Is that right? I didn't realize that.
I wrote about it. Pate was number 4. Jim Webb was number, or maybe, again, I'm confused. Maybe Webb was 10 and Brazil was 8. Robert Brazil, or vice versa. But all 3, I believe, were top 10. I think I'm right.
Wow.
Pate was number 4, I'm sure of.
Okay. And
can you believe that?
Well,
3
I don't.
Jackson, Mississippi.
That really is incredible. And, I don't think I knew that they were all in the top 10. That's one, bunched together at the top. And I think, too, since we are reminiscing, Rooster, I think I saw a video clip that somebody put out there this week looking back at the time that, the Bears drafted Walter Payton 4th overall. That was a 1975 draft. And the commissioner at the time, what was his name? Started with an R. Anyway, I can't think of his name. But when he announced the draft, he said, from Jackson State, Walter Payton, and then he spelled his last name. He said Payton, Payton, which was pretty neat because I guess there might have been a lot of folks that maybe hadn't heard of him or didn't know of him around the country because he didn't play at one of the big schools. You know, he played at Jackson State. All right, I'm looking at it right here. Let me help you. So that year, 1975 draft, Walter Payton from Jackson State went 4th overall. 2 picks later from Jackson State, the Oilers took Robert, is it Brazil?
Yeah.
Okay. So that was the 6th pick overall. Then with the 10th pick, they took Jimmy Webb, the defensive tackle out of Mississippi State. So you had 3 in the top 10 in 1975. Wow, that's really cool.
And Rooster got to interview all 3.
Really? So were you there?
Yeah. Yes.
Where did it take place?
Of course, I was playing Ledger. Pardon?
Where did the draft take place? So was it at New York?
Oh, I'm not sure about the date, but of course I was excited about it. We've got 3 right here at Jackson, Mississippi Nation. I think Webb played high school at Florence.
Okay.
And of course, Jackson State is where Brazil, and they were easy to find. They were on Lynch Street, real easy.
I see.
Can't remember where I got in touch with.
I got you. Okay.
I'm not sure where Mr. Webb was at that time. I think he might have been in Starkville.
Okay.
But I'm from Starkville, too.
Okay. All right.
No big deal. But don't tell that. Those Miss people still don't forgive me. Grew up on Gillespie Street. You know, come on.
Yeah. Right.
Octok. Occidental County. Can't forsake your roots. So what is, switching gears, what's the update on the Doors and the Dogs? I mean, I heard your update.
Yeah.
Apparently Dome is out for the weekend. He won't pitch.
Well, yeah, I think he's done for the year, whether they say it or not. What they did, though, Rooster, is, you remember we were talking about it earlier in the week, last weekend, Vanderbilt's starting pitcher in their Game 3 got called out by Florida. The Florida dugout said they wanted the umpire to go check him, said he had some sticky substance on his arm. They go out and check him. Sure enough, he had something he was using to doctor the baseball. So they ejected the Vanderbilt pitcher, and then he's suspended for 4 games, which means he can't pitch this weekend either. So they're down. Vandy is without him, Sunday starter. I want to say normally their Saturday guy may be a little hurt or something. So they got pitching issues. So what State has done is they have switched up the rotation. So their ace, Cal Stevens, going to throw tonight. They're not going to pitch Durangelo Sanger, the ambidextrous pitcher, tomorrow. They're going to save him and pitch him on Sunday, so somebody else will pitch in between. So that's your update.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's good news. Yeah, they'll probably won't give up less than 5 runs per game. So there's got to be got to get the bats to come alive to win this series.
No doubt. One of the better teams they've faced.
Last year, again, we've already topped last year's totals. We got 10 SEC wins and I think 27, 26. So it's better than last year.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, too bad about Dome. And listen, thanks for the fishing update. When I hang the phone up, I'm going to try to find some fried catfish.
You can find it for sure. No question. All right, Rooster, appreciate you. Have a good weekend.
Never find any bass or crappie. No. Have a good weekend, guys. God bless.
God bless you. Have a good weekend. I mean, the state record on a fly rod, smallmouth, is only 2.2 pounds. Some of y'all can beat that. Go after it. Hour 2 coming up. Stick around.
Now's the time to get a great deal on proven Kubota farming.
Thursday, it's Cosby starting off a night of family fun. And leave it to Family Ties to keep the laughs coming.
Oh, no. What are we going to do? Everything's under control.
Then on Cheers, will Norm fink on a friend to get a promotion?
Yeah, yes, Tom. Yes.
And the fun continues with Night Court. Thursday.
For over half a century, dairymen have tried to capture in cans the flavor of pure, fresh milk. And now Foremost has discovered the secret with an evaporated milk that's closest by far to fresh milk itself.
Kind of hard to believe, isn't it? An evaporated milk that doesn't have that old-fashioned evaporated milk taste. But it's true, and you can prove it. You know how most evaporated milks taste in coffee. The flavor goes flat. But try Foremost. You'll see it's white, the way milk ought to look, not drab tan like other brands. And when you taste it, well, if you're anything like me, you'll never even know it isn't pure, fresh cream. You try it. and see. That's Foremost, the closest thing in cans to pure, fresh milk. Remember, your family gets the most from Foremost.
Coca-Cola, come on, girl. Gotta share a Coke with you. Let the feeling show through. You wanna live a little bit more. That's what the taste of Coke is for. Coke adds life. Everybody wants a little life. Coca-Cola, Coke adds life. Everybody wants.
Come on, Harry, come on. We're getting our picture taken.
Special moments. Times of your life you'll want to remember. In pictures.
Smile, Howard. Smile.
To help make those pictures look as good as they can, make sure Kodak paper is behind them. If you don't see these words, it isn't Kodak paper. Just look for this sign when you get your pictures. Kodak paper, for a good look at the times of your life.
See, wasn't that fun?
Come and get it. Come and get it.
Stop the confusion. Stop the confusion. Everybody wants to get into the act with Kellogg's Variety Pack. Buster wants the cornflakes, Pop wants a pep. Mama loves the raisin bran, Mama is hip. Sister loves Rice Krispies, and there's Uncle Jack. He loves Kellogg's shredded wheat. Kellogg's makes it fun to eat. Breakfast with Variety Pack. Okay, folks, there's your favorite individual box of cereal, fresh from Kellogg's Variety Pack, untouched by human hands, except your own. That don't mean you gotta eat with them. Each individual box comes to your FOD, fresh on delivery from Battle Creek, right to your own dish. Yeah, everybody wants to get into the act with Kellogg's Variety Pack. Yes, sir, Kellogg's Variety Pack.
Here comes the one, the delicious one. Heinz is the big red one. There's only one ketchup with this flavor pouring on. It's so thick, so rich, so second to none.
Only one ketchup stands for this kind of thickness with this kind of taste. Heinz.
Heinz is the big red one.
I love the rich, whole wheat goodness of Kellogg's Mini Wheats. But the delicious frosted side makes the rich kid in me open wide.
The nutritious shredded wheat helps keep me on my toes. But the little ballerina in me thinks the taste steals the show.
Kellogg's Mini Wheats. Wholesome shredded wheat for the adult in you. Great taste for the kid in you. So they're delicious and nutritious.
The whole grain wheat really packs a crunch, but the delicious taste gives it just the right punch.
Like sands through the hourglass, so are the days of our lives.
Our old detergent.
Aha.
So we switched to Tide Free and Gentle. Tide cleans better than the leading competitive free detergent, and it doesn't leave behind irritating residues.
Plus, Tide Free and Gentle has no dyes or perfumes, so it's gentle on her skin.
Case closed.
If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Free and Gentle.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
WRKS Nicholas Jackson. We are good to go.
With more of the Matt Wyatt Show.
Coming to you direct and live.
At the Zone 105.9 and worldwide.
Now, here we go.
At the Zone 1059.com.
All right, here we go. Back with you. Hour 2 of the show on this Friday, off and running. Yeah, Pete Rozelle. I could not remember. Thank y'all. That was the name of the old NFL commissioner. If you're just now tuning in towards the end of hour 1 there, we're talking to Rooster on the phone, and we were looking back at the 1975 NFL draft. You had 3 players from Mississippi and all kind of central Mississippi area that went in the top 10 of that draft back in 1975. The first 2 were from Jackson State and then 1 from Mississippi State. So 1975 draft, 4th overall to the Bears, Walter Payton, 6th overall to the Oilers, Robert Brazile from Jackson State, and then 10th overall to the 49ers, Jimmy Webb from Mississippi State. And he remembered that. But I mentioned I'd seen a video clip of the commissioner at the time calling out Walter Payton's name and then spelling his last name, Payton. And I couldn't remember his name. That's who it was. That was the old NFL commissioner back then, Pete Rozelle. So Grumpy helped me out, and Louvier helped me out, and Hail State Fan on YouTube helped me out. And Pete Rozelle was NFL commissioner. Robert Brazile, number 52, was my favorite linebacker on my favorite team, the Oilers, back then. Said, okay, so he played high school football at Viger there in Pritchard, right outside of Mobile, Alabama. Okay, so that's where he went to high school. Hey, and Hail State Fan, I don't know where you're from, but it would be interesting to look up. Hard for me to believe that there's anywhere in the country that, in terms of one sort of area, the Mobile, Alabama area, it's hard to find an area that has produced more big-time athletes and pro athletes of all sorts and all sports than that Mobile, Alabama area. And I mean, for Pete's sake, we'll start with Hank Aaron, and then we'll just kind of go from there. But, man, it's pretty incredible. All right. Get them on in here. Yeah, I don't bring that up, Sven. Like 3 first-rounders. Sven brought this up. He said Joe Moorhead had 3 first-rounders on one team, couldn't win anything. Well, they were on defense, and they were pretty salty on defense, but they couldn't offense their way out of a wet paper sack that particular year. That's one thing now, Sven. Hey, as State fans, we have been put through that ringer twice now in recent years, right? Where we're just going to snap our fingers and take a quarterback who's already there, already playing, already established, and already has an identity in the type of player he is. And we're going to snap our fingers and change it and change him overnight. And guess what it did both times? Right. The first was Coach Moorhead and Nick Fitzgerald. They had I mean, Sven, here I go. Okay, all right, here I go. I'm about to go on this little diatribe based on the thoughts that you have brought to the surface. But let's just remember it. See, what's that saying about history? If we don't remember history, we are destined to repeat it. And it is so true. It is one of the truest axioms that's ever been brought up and thought about. 100% true. Whether you're talking society, government, municipalities, or sports, or anything else. You better take a good, long, honest look at history, or you're about to repeat it. But, so there you go. So this is, as much as a rant I'm about to go on, as much as anything else, it is a reminder for any coach out there at any level of what not to do in the future. If we backtrack, 2017, Dan Mullen leaves Mississippi State, and he'd done a lot of winning, and he totally transformed the program. Did a heck of a job, but he was, in large part, a horse's rear end most of that time. I mean, there were people, they were like, threw a party when he finally up and left. And then you're like, well, look, he's a good coach. Now he had you at number one. They don't care. They don't care. Can I help him move? All right. So Mullen leaves. And there sits Nick Fitzgerald, who I think he might have already been. But if not, wasn't already, as soon as Mullen left, he was already sitting there about to be the all-time leading rusher at the quarterback position in Southeastern Conference history. Had been running very successfully, I might add, a zone read offense that featured what? The quarterback running the ball if they gave you that read. And it worked with him, and he made it work because that's who he was. That kid was the toughest kid I've ever seen in a quarterback uniform at State. Tough, man. He would wear teams down. They got sick of tackling him for 4 quarters, and he'd pop up ready to go for the next one. Hard-nosed, tough, faster than he looked. And if you built that, if all you had to do was continue that, that's all you had to do. If he's going to play for you, if Nick Fitzgerald is going to play for you in 2018, Joe Moorhead, you got one decision to make, and I can make it for you. And I'm not a smart guy. Just keep doing what he did. I'll be changing it up. But instead, we're going to change it. We're going to be 50-50. And he made the comment, it's hard to score just calling run plays up and down the field. Oh, yeah? Well, it wasn't the year before with the same guy. So we're going to make him 50-50, and we're going to have him in the pocket reading all kinds of you-know-what that would have been hard for Joe Montana to read, being taught it in his first year, but we're going to make Nick Fitzgerald do it. I mean, dumb. And found out the hard way. So there's our first example in Mississippi State football history, recent example of you got somebody that can do certain things and maybe can't and hasn't done others. And you're not, I don't care who you are. You're not going to come in there and snap your fingers and just make him into whatever you want him to be overnight. You better do what he can do. And you might want to roll with what's been working. Sure, give it another name, whatever. They were so anxious to prove that they were smarter than Dan Mullen. Well, they found out, didn't they? Mm-hmm. We all found out. Fast forward. Poor old Mississippi State fans. Here we are again. We should have learned from that. Now we got another quarterback who he's got a certain way of playing, a certain thing he does well, and some certain things he doesn't do well. And it's been working that way. And we have decided we are smart enough to come in here and snap our fingers and overnight turn him into something else and turn it into something else. Will Rogers, air raid in high school, air raid in college, air raid when he's sleeping, air raid when he's walking, thinking about air raid, drawing up air raid, air raid, air raid, air raid. But we're going to snap our fingers, run the staff off that would have stayed and coached him another year. We're going to tell him it ain't going to be that much different. Keep him around and snap our fingers and change it and him overnight. That's dumb 2.0 is what that was. They found out. It's a team game. Takes it all. 3 phases of the game. You got to be good in it. And so, Sven, you can have 3 first-rounders on one side of the ball, but if you foul it up on the other side of the ball, you're going to underachieve. It's just all it is to it. Well, you didn't know you were getting that one, did you? I didn't know we were getting that one either. Yeah, that's right. Old Tackle commented on YouTube and said Marty McDowell was from the Mobile area. I mean, look, the list is endless. Basketball, baseball, football. The Mobile area, surrounding area, it is incredible, the athletes that have come out of there. Hale State fan, Texas show says, Matt, I grew up in and live in Middle Tennessee, but lifelong fan of the Houston Pro teams. He said, side note, Moorhead was only third MSU coach to win his first 2 Egg Bowls. Beating, he says, Mississippi, parentheses, love you, Coach Sherrill. Yeah, he would always, Coach Sherrill would always say Mississippi, wouldn't he? He wouldn't say Ole Miss. That's right. All right. One of the things we get into usually at the top of the hour is headlines, brought to you by Bank of England Mortgage and Went McGee, the mortgage man. Here we go.
Good evening. I'm Ron Burgundy, and this is what's happening in your world.
Good evening, and welcome to Eyewitness News.
Here's what's making news.
Baseball last night. The Alabama and Ole Miss series got underway, and Alabama whooped them 12-0. 10-run rule. They ended it in 7 innings, 12-zip. Alabama had 12 runs on 16 hits, no errors, left 7 on base. Could have been worse. And Ole Miss only had 6 hits in the ballgame, no runs on those 6 hits, did have an error, and they left 5 on base. Principal is an Alabama fan, Texas, and said, I'm not mad about it at all. Even Texas rolled tide. The other game and series that began last night was Tennessee hosting Missouri, and Tennessee whipped them pretty good, 10-1. So those have all got one game of the series under their belts. Teams can win them tonight. The rest of the series in the SEC begin tonight. State goes to Vandy, Arkansas hosting Florida, South Carolina hosting Kentucky, Texas A&M hosting Georgia, and LSU at home in Baton Rouge hosting Auburn. Those series beginning tonight. Now, I mentioned to you State's pitching rotation, or if you were around for the phone call with Rooster, I mentioned it to him. But just so you know, State's going to switch it up this weekend with Vandy having some pitching issues. And when I say issues, they've got a great roster. And they got plenty of talent at Vandy. It's just, it's going to be different for them because their Sunday starter is suspended. He had, pine tar on his arm or whatever it was. He was doctoring the baseball last week. And then they have another guy who's a little banged up. So to counter that, to give themselves maybe their best chance to go out, maybe at least pick up 1 win, avoid a sweep, and maybe win the series on the road, which would be huge for State. They're going to throw Cal Steve in the ace tonight, obviously here on a Friday night. A TBA in game 2, and then hold Durangelo Sanger for the game 3 Sunday to hopefully give themselves an advantage. And if they can battle one out tonight, maybe pick up 1 win in the first 2, you might feel like you'd have an advantage with Sanger on the mound on Sunday. Hey, and what did y'all think about this? It is a story that was out there. Sven actually mentioned it pretty early when he commented on the live stream. So there's a couple different angles to look at this, but like the bigger surprise in the first round of the NFL draft last night was this quarterback out of Washington, the lefty, being drafted very early with the number 8 pick overall by the Falcons. So the Falcons at number 8 drafted Michael Penix Jr., the left-handed great quarterback at Washington, 8th pick overall. The deal is, though, they just did a deal in free agency to get Kirk Cousins from Minnesota. Cousins is one of those who, in whatever situation he's been, I guess Washington and then Minnesota has been better as an individual player, has been better than he gets credit for because he's been on teams that didn't win, and the teams he's been on have not made playoff runs and all that, but he's been, a good player and a good teammate and all that stuff. So the Falcons go out and get him. They do a 4-year, $180 million deal, signed a contract last month. He is the incumbent. Here, he's the Falcons quarterback. He's making appearances all over Atlanta. He was in the broadcast booth of a Braves baseball game the other night wearing a Braves jersey. Like he's Mr. Atlanta now. New starting quarterback for your Atlanta Falcons, Kirk Cousins. And then on draft night, with the number 8th pick, the Falcons select Michael Penix Jr. from Washington, quarterback. So, fine. They draft one highly. It's a guy they want. He's there. Go get him. And then, now they got 2. But this is the thing that jumps out at me. The way that it's being talked about. Stunned was the word for incumbent quarterback Kirk Cousins. Here's a quote from ESPN's article on it. Cousins' agent, Mike McCartney, told ESPN's Pete Thamel that the Falcons did not tell the quarterback that they were going to pick Penix out of Washington until the team was actually on the clock at the draft. McCartney, this is Kirk Cousins' agent, said that there is frustration and confusion coming from Cousins' camp because Atlanta did not use its first round pick to make the team better in 2024. Now, Cousins getting on up there. How old is he? Is he? He's 30 already, right? Yeah, he's got to be. And buddy, I tell you what now. You talking about playoff wins to dollars. Yeah, he's 35. So maybe that's why you do it. Is he's 35 years old. You have seen in the past these teams that they'll go get some, aging quarterback in free agency, and he gets hurt week 2. See Aaron Rodgers and the Jets last year. And he got hurt in week 1, right? He got hurt in the first minute of the season. And then it's like, now what? So maybe it's a little insurance. Maybe it's a smart move. I don't know. The thing, though, that is puzzling to me is why would, in reality, if these stories and things are correct, why would Kirk Cousins and that bunch feel as though they had any right whatsoever to question it? Can y'all explain that to me? See, Sven says, how dumb do you have to be as a GM to give Kirk Cousins $180 million for 4 years? He's never going to get it done. But how about $180 million for 4 years, and at the end of 4 years, he's going to be 39 years old? That's another thing. So, we can debate all that. But my deal is, if you are Kirk Cousins, if you are his agent, maybe that's just the agent talking, and it's not necessarily Kirk Cousins talking. And it's entirely possible that in their dealings with Atlanta to get the deal done, there might have been things said like, yeah, we're going to sign you and then we're going to hit the draft and go get somebody to help you be better, right away. When you look, and at the time that they drafted this quarterback, other players were sitting there available, like Penix's teammate receiver, Odunze, however you say it, who the Bears took with the next pick. Like Brock Bowers, the tight end from the University of Georgia, sitting there available. Like the offensive tackle from Penn State, the one from Oregon State that the Saints took at 14. These are all offensive guys that are available sitting out there. The tackle from Georgia who went 18th. Receiver, Brian Thomas Jr., LSU, went 23rd. He's sitting there available. The guy the Chiefs got, a receiver from Texas who ran 4.2 twice. They went and got him. There's all these offensive players, big time. There was this is a big crop of offensive tackles they felt like was very good. And there were only 2 of those off the board at the time that the Falcons were picking at number 8. Offensive tackles, receivers, a tight end like Brock Bowers is sitting there. And they go, okay, well, you signed me to this contract, and then you go and you don't use your first round pick to do anything that's going to help us now. But again, if you're Kirk Cousins, you hadn't even so much as had a practice in Atlanta yet, much less played a game for them. You're 35. You are going to start. Do you have a right, if you are Kirk Cousins in that camp, to openly question it, and this is the start of your relationship, and paint it as, hey, I'm confused why you didn't do, y'all didn't do me right. I just don't, that's the thing to me. You may be a little confused as to why they did it, but don't you have to keep your mouth shut about it? Really? If you're at all concerned about this year as you claim to be, isn't it best for this year in 2024, if you're Kirk Cousins, to not add any drama that you don't necessarily have to add? Handle it behind the scenes, keep your mouth shut. Tell your agent to keep his mouth shut. Don't you? That's the only thing that struck me as a little odd. It'd be different if Cousins was 28, 29 years old. He's 35. That's the thing to me. That story struck a chord with me because you can see it from Atlanta's standpoint. They don't know if Cousins is going to be playing for him 4 years from now or not. It's probably not likely. So you go ahead and draft this guy. You really love him, and he happens to be available. Great, wonderful. You're Kirk Cousins, and you're Kirk Cousins' agent. Man, shut up. What do you think you're doing? Why would you do anything to start it off on a wrong foot when you don't have to? I don't quite get that. All right, hour 2, just getting started. Stick around.
I was born and raised in Greenville. I've always called Greenville home. This is where I, was raised, went to high school, graduated high school, worked all my life here, leading up to going to college. So even when I moved from Greenville, I always told people, they asked me where you're from, I always said I'm from Greenville. I have mother, father, brother, niece, aunt, all live here in Greenville. So this is home. This is where I, live, and I've just always called it home. Small town, I feel like I could walk in any place tomorrow and know 2 to 3 people in there. It's small town. Someone's on the side of the road broken down. Hey, you need a boost, flat tire, you need help changing it. That's just kind of, what I love about this area. The blues and the food and everything that comes along with the Mississippi Delta that I love. I tell people all the time, my business cards have my cell phone number on them for a reason. Insurance doesn't happen from 8 to 5. When you need me, it's going to be after 5. It hardly ever happens where you have a wreck, get pulled over, need an insurance card, wind blows, shingles off your roof. All these things happen, and it's typically after 5. And so the ability for someone to call me, get in contact with me, text me, ask me a question, and that's what it's about to me, is helping the people that we serve, is taking care of people, and them knowing that they can count on me whenever they need me. I am Brian Street with Farm Bureau Insurance in Washington County, and we are your home team.
Y'all have heard me talk about Murray West and MurrayWest.com. They made the hat that I'm wearing. Got the Natchez Trace logo on it. I've told you a little bit about what they are. Contract embroidery company here in Mississippi, started back in 1996, family owned. They do a phenomenal job, and I got to go visit their place up in New Albany. Let me show you a little bit about it. I say they do quality stuff. They really do. And so custom apparel, team stuff, I mean, really and truly, just about every high school in the state is sending their embroidered, team gear, jackets, shirts, hats, stuff. Baseball teams, football teams, they're sending it to the folks at Murray West in New Albany. You go to their website, murraywest.com, you go to the bottom, you can kind of see some of the Prairie Wildlife, Ole Miss Athletics, Gentile, others that they work with. Can't recommend them enough. You need your logo printed, embroidered, sewn on to anything, custom apparel and other stuff. Make sure you go
Right at thezone1059.com.
Back with you, I'm Matt. In the Bureau, the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Farm Bureau, go! With the home team, they are your home team at Farm Bureau Insurance, all across the great state of Mississippi. Who is this? Fontenot with the Falcons. What does he do? General manager. Falcons general manager Terry Fontenot and coach Raheem Morris said that Kirk Cousins' reaction to this draft pick would, quote, remain private. Morris said in an interview, while they were on the clock, to make the pick, is when they called Kirk Cousins to let him know what they were doing. Quote, he got called on the clock, obviously because of the sensitive time with the issues, what were going on. It's never a right time to talk to a quarterback about those things. And reactions are always going to be private when it comes to those things, unless Kirk decides to tell you some of those things that are whatever they may be. What kind of quote is this? But he's a competitor just like us all. And you can always expect those things to go just like you kind of think. In other words, he didn't like it one bit. And whatever his reaction is, I'm not telling you. You can ask him. And maybe he will, maybe he won't tell you. So the two sides on it. And I'm sure that right now what I'm doing is what I don't like to do, which is you are in the echo chamber of what everybody else is talking about around the country. But what I can see it fairly clearly. Yeah, Kirk Cousins, without any knowledge of what was being said in their conversations leading up to him signing, maybe the Falcons told him, you sign with us, we're going out there in the first round with the 8th pick, and we're going to get some help for you. Maybe they looked him straight in the eye and said that. It could be very likely. Then when it doesn't happen, he feels lied to. Yes. However, you're 35. You're not going to play forever. And they're trying to build something for the future. Okay, and that's rightfully so from the Falcons' perspective as well. Now, yes, you can see it from Kirk Cousins' perspective also. He's going, okay, I am 35. Okay, I got a lot of football left, and you pay me a lot of money. You might want to bring in some help. Like a couple of picks later is one of the best tight end prospects you've ever seen coming out. Brock Bowers, he's right there. Heck, if nothing else, he'd help sell you some tickets. He played at Georgia. So, and I don't know enough about the Falcons to know what their needs are. but I can see it a little bit from both sides. I guess what I would say is, if I stop for a minute, think about it, there's neither side of this that I feel obligated to align with, whether it's Kirk Cousins or the Falcons. And kind of against the backdrop of what Sven said over here on the YouTube live stream. How dumb do you have to be as a GM to give Kirk Cousins $180 million for 4 years, and he's 35 years old? Maybe it's just leave it to the Falcons to foul it up. Right? I don't know. It wouldn't be all that surprising if indeed that's what happened. They go foul it up. All right, listen up. You can be a part of the show. I hope you will be. The aforementioned live stream. Just drop a comment right there, wherever you are. Facebook, YouTube, X. You comment, it pops up right there where I can see it. Make it a part of the show that way. It's no different. Like if you text or call, it's like pulling up a chair, plopping down at the table with us, joining the conversation. I'll pour you some hot coffee from High Point Roasters in New Albany, Mississippi. Yeah. Go to highpointroasters.com. That's what I'm on. I'm on some breakfast blend right now as we speak. Just poured it out of the thermos in my cup here. I got a little handy dandy little mug from Country Pleasing. Text me on the Country Pleasing text line, the number 885-3776. The 601 number, 885-3776. Or call me on the Davini phone, Davini Equipment, Madison and in Jackson. The number to call, 897-1059. That's a 601 number, 897-1059. Hey, I found something else on this list of state record fish. It came up when White Denzel sent me a picture of that great big flathead catfish his friends caught. I was wondering how much it weighed, because it'd have to be getting close. I don't know. I mean, it had to be getting close. Somewhere in the ballpark of some of these state records. But there are different state records for rod and reel, trophy fishing, fly fishing even. And that's really interesting to me. That, you know, state records are tough, but there's some state records to be had now from a fly fishing perspective. That's just how I feel about it. I'll tell you more on the subject. If you didn't know this, I mentioned it earlier in the week, but there are some recently new episodes of the Mississippi Outdoors podcast from Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. One, we talked a lot of fishing with Larry Pugh, fisheries biologist. He's now the deputy director of the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. What do you call it? Do you say crappie or white perch? Which one is it? Okay, you said white perch, which is crappie. Mm-hmm. Is there a dividing line? Okay, is it I-20?
I think no, I would go more I-82.
82.
Highway 82.
North of that, we say crappie.
South of that's white perch. And look, you know, when I got to Mississippi State and changed, you know, my major and started getting into, you know, fisheries management and doing statistics and learning ichthyology, different types of fish, people kept talking about crappie. I didn't know what they were talking about. Right. You know, that's white perch where I grew up, and there were not two species. I mean, the black-ish white perch were the male, right, and the others were the females. Well, I didn't know there was a black crappie and a white crappie. They're two separate species. So, you know, it took me, 21 years to learn that there's two different species of white perch, a black crappie and a white crappie. But I didn't know that until I got north of 82.
How about that? That's part of the conversation on that podcast, the new Mississippi Outdoors podcast that we had recently with Larry Pugh. And he also, for example, I mean, we covered the gamut. It touched on, like, what is the key to catching a really big fish? Since I'm about to talk about state records, what does it take, for a fish to get there and for you to kind of intersect it at the right time in its life where you catch a state record, a really big fish?
The number one key to get big crappie or trophy bass is simply age.
Got to reach a certain age.
You know, certainly we've got to have forage, we got to have habitat, we got to have the genetics. But the number one thing is that fish can't go in a live well or a cooler and be taken home. Let's say a 10-pound bass. You know, you're talking about an 8-year-old fish. 8 years is a long time.
Right.
Especially if you're in a 120-acre lake. Texas and Florida have looked at the age of their tweeners, their 12s to 15s to 16s, and I mean, it's amazing how old those fish are. Just like we do as humans, you reach a certain point in your age that your health starts declining. Over the course of my career, especially as a fisheries biologist, people would get upset and say, man, I caught a big fish. Had the head of a 5-pounder. I don't know how many times I've heard that.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong. Number one, the fish bit. Okay, so you caught the fish. Right. But a lot of times it's just an old fish.
All right, so go listen to the whole conversation if you're a fisherman. The Mississippi Outdoors Podcast. There's also a recent episode with Andre Hollis, former Ole Miss wide receiver. He's now the director of the Mississippi State Parks and does an excellent job. I really had a fun interview with him. You'll enjoy it. Now, Russ commented on Facebook. He said, fishing season starts next weekend, Matt. Last weekend for turkey hunting season. This. Okay, but here's what I'm thinking, Russ. Look at this, though. Y'all, listen. Earlier, we got a picture from White Denzel. His buddies yesterday caught a giant flathead catfish on the Pearl River. Now, again, he didn't tell me how much it weighed. I'm looking at the picture trying to guess. I mean, if the guy is anywhere close to 6 feet tall, the fish is pushing 5 feet long. I mean, it's a huge fish. And I think we looked it up earlier. The rod and reel record for flathead catfish in the state of Mississippi is 77 pounds. The trophy record, which could be caught some other way, was 89 pounds, something like that, flathead catfish. But something jumped out at me. All the state fishing records, you can find it online at mdwfp.com. And there is a whole classification for fly fishing. There are fly rod, like if you catch fish on fly fishing, you have the potential to catch a state record in that could be different than the rod and reel. Well, as I told you earlier, currently, as we speak, right now, today, the fly fishing state smallmouth record is only 2.2 pounds at Pickwick. Like, it's gettable. When we come back, I'm going to tell you the state record bluegill on a fly rod. It may surprise you. Anyway, just hang tight. I'll tell you what it is. It may surprise you. I'm Matt in the Bureau. Stick around.
Today's game from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Time was, their breakfasts were gloomy. They just didn't feel right, and they didn't know a delicious cereal could help their sad plight. So they tried this and tried that, but irregularity kept coming back all the same. For as often the case, lack of bulk in their diet was actually to blame. Once at the grocer's, the wife was so drooping and sagging that a neighbor said, "Get on Kellogg's All-Bran wagon. Why, All-Bran has a flavor that's scrumptious to eat. So rich and nut-like, makes breakfast a treat. And of course, Kellogg's All-Bran can help you each day to youthful regularity, the dietary way." "Well, it might do some good," said the wife with a sigh. "Guess I'll get some All-Bran and give it a try." Soon, breakfasts at her house were happy and bright, for delicious Kellogg's All-Bran set their day off right. Yes, All-Bran supplies all the bulk in your diet, you see. that you may need for youthful regularity. And no half-brand cereal possibly can provide this help as surely as Kellogg's All-Brand. A delicious, non-habit-forming aid to your diet. You're sure to like All-Brand. Just buy it and try it.
Get on the Kellogg's All-Brand wagon with the best bran in the land. The cereal that tastes grand, the cereal that's All-Brand, a breakfast treat that can't be beat. Be a regular guy and climb aboard the All-Brand wagon. Eat Kellogg's All-Brand.
What is the secret of this enchanted book? What wonders are hidden within its pages? What magical spell does it cast on all who read it? What is the secret of the never-ending story?
But that's impossible!
You will enter a world where a young boy's imagination becomes a vivid reality. The world of Atreyu and Artax, the Rockbiter, and a good and kind gnome. A world that is vast and eternal, treacherous and dazzling, unforgettable and free. For anyone who's ever made a wish, believed in a fantasy, or had a dream, this is the never-ending story.
It's a new thing. It's a fun thing. It's a swing wing.
It's a what?
It's a swing wing. It's a wing wing. A brand new transit grand fun thing.
It's a what?
It's a swing wing. A fun thing. And now it's your favorite store thing.
It's a what?
Mazda announces some great news for truck buyers. Right now, you can beat the already outstanding value of the $67.95 Mazda SE5. Introducing Mazda SE5 Plus 5.
Talk about it with Matt Wyatt right here, right now on the Zone 105.9 and worldwide at the Zone1059.com.
Back with you, I'm Matt. All right, so this is the answer. State record fish. There's different species, obviously, but the records, according to the website, are separated by what is caught with a rod and reel versus some other way, like I don't know if hand grabbing goes into it or not, but like on a trot line or jug fishing or whatever. And then also another category for fly fishing. You fly fish, fishing with a fly rod. Which, fishing with a fly rod, it eliminates certain types of fishing. There just ain't no fishing in deep water with a fly rod unless if you're into pain and suffering. But, okay, so the state record bluegill caught on a rod and reel, listen closely, the state record bluegill caught on a rod and reel was 3.45 pounds. Gerald Thurman, Blue Mountain, Mississippi, in a farm pond back in 1995. Okay, but that's rod and reel. The state record bluegill caught fly fishing, which you absolutely can catch them with a fly rod. Yes, the state record bluegill on fly rod is 1.8 pounds. I'm sorry, 1 pound, 8 ounces, but you get it there. 1 pound, 8 ounces, caught by Irby Stewart, Madison, Mississippi, in a private pond on September the 11th, 2015. Now, Mr. Stewart, if you're listening, first of all, tip of the cap. That's awesome. You know, 1.5 pound bluegill on a fly rod. You having some fun. That is really, really cool. And it was in private pond. And I think that's one that's out. I mean, that's reachable. Okay. The state, 2 years later, in 2017, the state record red ear, which is, you know, a type of sunfish, right? You know, you go brim fishing, you catch red ear a lot of times in the same place. 1.87 pounds. So, you know, pretty much kind of close to the same thing, a little bigger. 1.87 pound red ear caught with a fly rod by Jim Dindy, Kosciuszko, Mississippi, in Country Club Lake in May of 2017. How about this? And it's interesting because it's not even a pound, but it's a type of, you know, fish that we naturally have in our waters, but in particularly small creeks and that sort of thing. A fish called warmouth. They're actually very pretty. They're a very colorful, very pretty fish. Look them up. In some cases, warmouth. But the state record warmouth on a fly rod was caught in Jackson in 2010 at LaFleur's Bluff State Park. 0.63 pounds, so a little more than half a pound. That's pretty big warmouth. But anyway, like some of these state records on a fly rod are very recent and very up for grabs. So it leads me to believe, and I don't know all the details, but it leads me to believe that the fly rod thing has only been kept up with and been a category, you know, relatively recently in terms of the history of fishing in Mississippi. But some of this, let me give you another example here. Now, just put yourself in the shoes of this fisherman. The state record channel catfish caught on a fly rod was caught in a private pond back in 2007 in Fernwood, Mississippi by a guy named Robert Troutman, and it was 11 pounds and 5 ounces. Now, I want you to think about catching an 11-pound catfish on a fly rod. But they're all on here. Different species of gar. You got state records on fly rods as well as rod and reel. Yeah. But like I said, okay. I mean, this is crazy to me. So, like I said, comparing it, the state record largemouth on a rod and reel was caught a long time ago, over 18 pounds in Natchez. But the state record largemouth caught on a fly rod was caught in 2005 in Leland, Mississippi in a private lake, and it was 11.62 pounds. Catch you an 11-pound bass on a fly rod. How long does that take? The state record spotted bass caught with a fly rod, 4 pounds in Jackson on the Pearl River. A 4-pound spot. That is a huge spotted bass. And on a fly rod. Now, I don't know what the state record spotted bass is on a rod and reel. Let me see if I can find that out for you. 8 pounds. So twice the size. So the state record spot, 8 pounds on a rod and reel, 4 pounds on a fly rod. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, you know, it's like we all had different motivations. But if you wanted to, like, again, this is a really cool record. Okay, bluegill that weighed 1 pound, 8 ounces, caught back in 2015 on a fly rod. Well, that's currently the fly rod bluegill state record. I would think that's gettable out there for somebody. I really would. That smallmouth. Now, I know it's Pickwick, and you got to, you'd have to be right place, right time, but it's doable. The smallmouth state record on a fly rod at Pickwick, 2 pounds, 2.25 pounds, 2.25 pounds. That's gettable. All right, Real C on the Country Pleasing text line. He texted the show. He said, Matt, the new IGF record for fly rod was caught by Michael Boulware at Ross Barnett last year. And it was the white crappie fly rod record. Okay, so see, and I don't know if I see it listed here. See, Real C on the MDWFP website, the fly rod black crappie record is from Bruce, Mississippi, North Mississippi back in 2006, 3.02 pounds. But I don't see one for white crappie on a fly rod. Not listed anyway. Jason in Flagstaff says, so the guy in Smithville several years ago claiming his flathead weighed 100 pounds was either lying and or he caught it illegally. Fisherman would never. Well, but here's the thing. Maybe he didn't get it weighed officially, right? Like call the local conservation officer and have them come and check it so that it'd be, because I think you'd have to for it to be state record. Like somebody'd have to corroborate it, right? Mad Tiger says, Matt, is a jig pole considered the same as a fly rod? I guess not. I guess it's not. That is a great question, Mad Tiger, because you go rod and reel. Well, like jig pole, same thing as a cane pole, basically. I mean, it doesn't. I guess some might have a reel, and but it would not be the same as the fly rod. I don't know how they figured that out. Delta Tide fan texts the show, and he says they make fly rods of all different sizes. Yes, they do, absolutely. He says even saltwater fish like tarpon, saltfish, marlin, tuna, shark can be caught on fly rod. I think 12 or 13 weight is the largest fly rod they make. And you're right. The marsh stuff, the brackish stuff, Louisiana, Florida, those places, you're right. Bigger tackle. It absolutely can be done. I just think, freshwater fly rod fishing, generally light leader, right? And light rod action. It's not like throwing braided line on a 7.5 foot flipping stick and hoisting them out of lily pads and stuff, But you're exactly right. Dennis, formerly of Omaha, says, what's involved in getting a fish recorded as a state record? Involved with getting a fish recorded as a state record. We need to know that. Dennis, and I know it's Friday. We need to know exactly what that is, you and I both. So it'd be easy enough. I'll talk to the right people. I'll find out all the details, and I'll bring that to Monday's show. And if you find out before then, great. Between now and then, if you catch one you think this weekend it might be a state record, just call your local wildlife fisheries office, conservation officer, and get them out there. Pictures and everything else and document it. But we'll find out for sure on Monday. Thanks for tuning in. For Beaver, I'm Matt. All of us here on the show. I hope y'all have a great weekend. We'll see how baseball goes, and we'll talk about that on Monday as well. Right here in the Bureau. See you then. See ya.